Hello everybody. We have a game with the black pieces on a rapid speed run against El Saf rated 1300. So he puts two pawns in the center, which is good, and we attack the pawn. He defends it. We try to go into our Pirc setup. So we're going to fianchetto the bishop and castle. Let's see how white chooses to set up his army. He doesn't set up, he goes for the early push, but this allows us to capture the pawn, which is why we played d6 to begin with. And now we get to queen trade with check, so it's forcing. He has to retreat the knight to the back rank, so now he has to waste tempi moving it forward again. And in the meantime, we have to move our knight, but they have an overextended pawn. So let's move the knight and attack it. This does not come with a double threat, so it might be slightly vulnerable there. So I'm going to move it back where it's not vulnerable at all and attack the pawn this way. He defends the pawn with a knight. We wanted to fianchetto anyway, and now it happens to also threaten to win a pawn. So it's for free, which is nice. And I already like black's position. We're ready to castle. We have a good bishop, pressure on the center. He can't protect it with a pawn, which means he'll have to dedicate pieces. But does he have enough pieces? I don't think so, because we have easy attacking moves. For example, knight c6 is our next most natural developing move, and it hits the pawn. So even though he's defending it, what happens when we bring this knight out and hit the pawn? Maybe he'll go bishop here, trying to pin. Maybe. So here, if I take, and he takes, and I take, and he takes, my knight's pinned. Huh. I mean, okay, I'll just castle then. I was thinking about a6, just stopping it and then playing knight here next, and he has a hard time defending the pawn. But castling is also can't be a bad move. So he makes a pawn move to cover the diagonal, probably because he wants to push the pawn and get rid of it by messing up my structure maybe. That's just an option, a possibility. Now that I'm castled though, this knight wouldn't be pinned, right? So now I can go here, and bishop here doesn't pin anything. So I don't need to waste a turn playing a6, which is not as useful as castling. So he does play this move, but now when I go here, if he ever takes my knight, I can take backwards. My c7 pawn's always hanging, but it's never as valuable as the central pawn. So I say we take, but with which knight? I don't know if it matters, but we'll take with this knight. That way, in no line do we ever ruin our structure. And we always have c6 possibilities, intermezzos in some lines. So he takes the knight. I take back. We have c6 incoming. And now he doesn't even get the c7 pawn the way he traded. So now black's just up one central pawn, the e7 one, which gives him a pawn majority, 4 versus 3, on the king side, the left half of the board. And that's a win condition. That means that's enough for us to win the game. We don't need further advantages. So we can just trade all of the pieces, and just keep the kings and the pawns and win. So he castles. We mentioned playing c6 to mess with the bishop, and doesn't have many squares to go to. Maybe he goes back, but that blocks the rook. And if I can trade at any opportunity, I will. So he goes back this way, which is an ineffective move. So he'll probably go somewhere else afterwards. Okay, what do we want to do? Knight in here hits the bishop. This pawn is defended already, but it does hit the bishop. If he drops the bishop back, do we really want our knight there? It's a bit in La La Land. I don't think I want to do that just yet. Can we develop our light square bishop? This is interesting. This is, okay, let's develop our bishop here on a defended square that he can't be harassed. He retreats his bishop, but this diagonal is covered very well. So I was thinking to get a rook in the game now. Which rook? Doesn't matter. Let's move this one. Give our king and bishop a little more space. Options for the future and future lines. 20 moves down the road. So he moves the knight back in the game. Blocks the bishop's diagonal there. Also blocks... my dasher is heading my way. Also blocks this. So now I can infiltrate. His knight's dominated, so I'm not sure where it's going. And if I infiltrate, it hits the bishop. He can't move the knight because the knight defends the bishop. So if he wants to attack by moving the knight, he'll hang the bishop. The bishop has no check desperados in any line because we played g6. And when he attacks our rook, we can just double. And I like what I see. I think black has a really good position. This bishop is, although you may think this is a weird square, we have no need to push our e-pawn. Our dark square bishop is already developed, and it's not so important to have a central pawn presence here because we're already so involved playing with the pieces. The game's already like, we're already in the middle of war. So I think it's more important to, attack and dodge bullets than try to occupy the center. So he goes h3, which is just, I don't know, maybe he wants to bring his bishop back is my guess, and play f4 is my guess. Okay. It's possible. But now I can double, right? Without too much thought and no calculation whatsoever. If he moves his light square bishop so that it's not hanging, what is this? He goes here, maybe he's going to create a pawn chain. Or maybe he didn't want it hanging when he moves his bishop somewhere. But it weakens this dark diagonal, and that diagonal you don't want to weaken when I have this bishop. So, what to do? I want to open this bishop on that loose pawn that he just created. So I need to move my knight. None of these make any sense, so forward it is. This threatens the bishop. It also threatens the pawn. So it's a double threat. It's a double attack. It also pressures this, but that wasn't my intention, and that's the f2 point is defended anyway at the moment. So, but I mean that's not what I'm going for. So he takes the knight with the bishop because stuff was hanging. So he gets a piece, we get a pawn. He moves, we get a piece. But then he can move the knight, and there's this weird rook alignment. And I don't feel like calculating knight jumps and discoveries, so since I'm already up a pawn, let's just keep it simple and go here, removing this alignment, so I don't have to calculate because I'm lazy. And this is still a long-term problem, right? It's not like it's solved because I didn't take it. I can take it right now. So he offers a rook trade, but this allows takes, knight to the back rank, knight, funnily enough, defends that pawn. So instead, I think we just take the pawn first, change up the move order. Now there's no knight here, so it works. He takes, we take without any thought. And now if he contests us, we'll gladly put his knight back because we already grabbed the pawn. So we're up 2 clean pawns, one on the E file, one on the C file. And I want you to be able to be confident that you're going to win this game from here. Against an opponent of equal strength, you know, not some GM. So now, what are we threatening? Let's see. I guess just trades. Or infiltration with the rook. Some piece to that square looks very annoying for white. Otherwise, I like where this bishop is placed, controlling the knight, defended by a pawn. Also, where would you move it? Right? Maybe here on an outpost. Maybe that's a good move because it might force him to trade because you don't really want to leave this bishop so strong. So that's a candidate move if you're looking for trades, which we are. So he goes here trying to cut our king off, which makes some sense. We can always just drop the bishop back. In fact, maybe start with that because we don't want this diagonal cut off for our king in any endgame. We're happy with trades, and the bishop is not actually hitting anything. We grabbed our pawn, so we might as well put it back to its most natural square, protecting the king. And if he doesn't want the trades and he has to go back, we get free turns. We got to solidify with the bishop and go again. And if he does trade, well, then he's trading into a losing endgame, so it's a catch-22 for him. So he trades. So now it's this knight's dominated. Our rook is active. He trades, easy conversion. Easy conversion, right? Now it's just piece for piece. If I could take his knight, I will. So let's put it on that outpost, the bishop, where we mentioned it's unassailable by pawns and protected, so it's perfect. You never have to touch it for the rest of the game. And now we can finally push that e-pawn and move 25 and get that presence we've been wanting in the center, but not needing. Okay, he plays g3. He does not take the bishop. We can simply advance our pawns, our pawn majority. That's where we're going to create our pass pawn. We're not going to, we have a pawn majority here too now because we're 2 pawns up. So we can technically push either side, but this queen side defends the bishop nicely. So I'm going to leave that side. Okay, he moves the king. I move my king. He moves his king. We just continue pushing. We could just get them as far as they want to go. It's not really a thing. It's okay because our position's winning, and if I had 10 seconds I'd be worried, but with 2 minutes and 40 seconds I'm not worried. So his knight, can't really go anywhere. This bishop you can't touch unless you're trading. So what's there to do but resign? And trading is just a really bad move, but it's not like you had legal moves, right? So you can push the majority now. Now this is just pass pawn. We can bring our king in. Oops, I don't want to pre-move. And we can bully him, right? You could give him all the turns in the world to push these, but they can never get past these 2 because there's no majority. You need 3 on 2. Otherwise, they're just going to stare at each other. Okay, he moves his king. We get our king in. We're going to try to shoulder his king, which means just taking away his squares. So I take away some squares so he can't go to. So he goes to that square. You could push either pawn. You could move your king in front, but you don't need opposition when you have 2 pawns because you have 2 pawns and that's not how geometry works. So now we just get a queen. He has to go here to avoid mate immediately, but he resigns instead. So that was a pretty good Pirc game from a 1300. Shows you how they might respond in this rating range. So we get to the starting, we don't even reach the starting position where we're fianchettoed and castled. That's where I usually say this is the starting position. We go from here because a lot of times low rated players will just push an early e5. Maybe not exactly here, maybe one move from now, two moves from now. It'll vary depending on the player, but it's always better to develop as white. It's not good to do the early push because black can equalize or be better quickly. Like in this case, the instant he does it, engine says black is already slight advantage. So you're never worried about e5 pushes. We take, force move, and now the queen trade. Free stuff because of this positional retreat with the knight is clearly bad for him. So it's positional gain for us. That's the free stuff. And now force move for free. Development for free. And I'm curious, what's the best move? So you can play knight c6 and he will play bishop b5. And then it says knight d8. So you can blockade with the knight. That's interesting. You can play e6. I thought about that because white might even just sack the pawn, play e6 himself and open up his stuff. But I don't even think his sack on e6 matters because once I'm castled, I get the pawn. I have a, an open rook on the f file. I wasn't too worried about it. A6, how terrible is this? Still pretty much equal, but it's very slow. And his best move is e6. Interesting. Okay. We castled, also equality. And his best move again, which is still equality, is e6. Something like e6, we take, he gets the pawn back. And then we develop with the open rook. But I obviously like black because look at this pressure that he's stuck defending. We have open rook down the knight, the king, the f file, easy development. So it's an equal game, but I'd rather start with black from here. Okay. So development for free. And yeah, he should jettison the pawn so he doesn't lose it in the worst way. Pushing it is the best way to lose it. Messing up our structure, creating long-term permanent endgame weaknesses, and opening up the bishop so you get the material back. So, but he doesn't find it. He goes for the knight, and now it goes from equality to -2. Black's completely winning, and you're like, what the heck, why? It's not even like we win a bishop or anything. It's just this central pawn is now actually hanging because we're not pinned. And we scoop it up. He takes, force move. And now we're just up our -2. And so we're up one pawn, but positionally a whole nother pawn's worth. Where does that pawn's worth come from? Well, our bishop is super strong with permanent pressure on his queen side, so he can't advance the pawns without hanging stuff ever. So that's stuck. Also, we have a centralized knight. He has a knight on the back rank interfering with his rooks. His bishop, a lower rated player might think is active, but actually, as you saw in the game, once we harass it, it's quite neither here nor there, not sure where it wants to be. Whatever diagonal it picks is almost useless, and that's worth another pawn. So -2. We improve for free, control central light squares, and push the bishop out of our territory. It's no longer eyeing our squares. He retreats. Now we develop, we take away this diagonal, otherwise he has to trade down material, right? And this is a nice diagonal for our bishop. So just development and prophylaxis, forcing him to a worse diagonal, which, like, it's nice, it looks nice here behind the pawn, but it aims at the fianchettoed, g6, so it's weird. Development and center. Improving a piece and prophylaxis. So prophylaxis in that it restricts his knight, tethers it to the bishop, and it tethers the bishop to the pawn, so he really can't move two minor pieces, and we infiltrate. He does a ridiculous move, and we double because he just gave us a free turn. What's the best move here? Wow, 93, huh? What's the next best move, though? I couldn't think of other moves. Rook 2 to d7. So bringing this rook back so you're out of this alignment. F5. That's a weird move, but I guess it makes some sense, but it's not worth it human-wise. Okay, so there's really not that many options. That's why I couldn't really find moves. So we're minus 3.3 once we find this killer blow, which hits a lot of stuff. Super annoying move. Very active position for black. Totally crushing. It's almost like we have the bishops and he doesn't, even though he has both of them. It's like they're not there because they literally don't do anything. Meanwhile, if he moves any of his pawns, everything hangs, which is what happens. Everything's already loose since he moved a pawn. So he takes the knight, which is problematic. So we take the bishop, minus 3. He goes for a rook trade, which hardly makes sense since he's down material. And we scoop a free stuff. Force move. Free improving move because trades or wins. Minus 4. Force move. Trades or wins. So we force move. Improving a piece. And center. Minus 4.5. The game wins itself with these passed pawns. Any minor piece trade makes it way easier for you. Center, pass pawn. Center, pass pawn. Improve the king. You don't need to make this move. You can win in any number of ways. You just have to basically push the e-pawn. But it doesn't hurt to improve your position as much as possible. So like even if the winning move is e4 and king e5 and king d4 and somehow like doing it fast down the center, let's just assume that worked. Not never, but it usually doesn't hurt to get in g5, h5, you know, b6, a5, like maximize your position and then go for the break or whatever you need to in an endgame. A lot of times it's very beneficial to maximize your position first because it makes the possibility, the lines, the tree, the one that you're going to go down, you're picking a better tree once you're maximized. So if you make a mistake or inaccuracy, the branches of lines are always going to be in your like better than the other options where you didn't maximize. Bit weird, but anyway, so we just keep pushing because I don't even think it works immediately. You probably need a little more support. I keep pushing just to maximize. You can, depending on what they do, sometimes you can create a pass pawn in different directions. Force move, and this is just, hopefully you know how to win this. If you don't, you should watch just some basic videos on YouTube. Now we create a passer with one of these two pawns, which are potential pass pawns, minus 7. We bring the king in, we force the king back, we shoulder it, and it's just a mate in 4. That was a perfect game. No inaccuracies. 97% accuracy. With no inaccuracies, 15 center pawn. But in the beginning, I mean, we're playing the Pirc, so white is always slightly better here. So how is this not an inaccuracy? Just this opening in general. I guess because it's book, or because it's theory, it considers it as acceptable up to a point. But it says that white's plus 0.6, but this is also not the strongest possible engine either. So knight back was the best. Yeah, okay, so you can do whatever you want. But knight fd7. Alright, I'll take a perfect game. Bit unexpected. I mean, it was easy, but a bit unexpected that there's no inaccuracies. Usually there's almost always inaccuracies because chess is hard, but we will take this one. Good luck in your chess. Submit your rapid game in my Discord. Goodbye.